Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation which follows is from Gauri Mahalla Panjama. Gauri Mahalla Panjama, Tujh Bin Kavan Hamara, Mere Pritam Pran Adhara, अंतर की विद तुम ही जानी, तुम ही सजन सुहेले, सर्ब सुखा मैं तुझ ते पाए, मेरे ठाकुर अगह अतुले। बरन न साको तुमरे रंगा, गुण निधान सुख दाते, अगम्य अगोचर प्रभ अबनासी, पूरे गुर ते जाते। परम भौ काट किए नह केवल, जब ते हऊँ मैं मारी, जन्म मरण को चूके सहसा, साध संगत दरसारी। चरण पखार करो गुर सेवा, बार बार जाऊँ लख बरिया, जह प्रसाद भाव जल तरिया, जन नानक प्रै संग मिरिया। चरण पखार करो गुर सेवा, बार जाओ लख बरिया, जह प्रसाद एह भाव जल तरिया, जन नानक प्रै संग मिरिया। Self-transcendence or transcendence of the ego, what it is and why it should be accomplished, is the central idea here. And that essentially means trying to identify who we really are. Tujh Bin Kavan Hamara, Mere Pritam Pran Adhara. Who can I count on being mine except you? You are my beloved. You are the staff of life. So the Guru is essentially posing a question. And the question is, who is the true beloved self? So in posing this question, the fifth Nanak, Arjan, is essentially reminding us that self-identification with ego consciousness, or what we call haume, is not only mistaken, but it actually is the cause of all our unhappiness. So the passage that we are considering, the Sabad, gives us insight into our true essence. Let's examine the verses that follow. The Guru says, Antar ki bid tum hi jani, tum hi sajan suhele, sarb sukha main tujh te paaye, mere thakur agah atule. Mere thakur agah atule, my inestimable and boundless master. All comfort and happiness flows from you. Sarab sukha main tujh te paaye. You are my pleasing companion. Tum hi sajan suhele, who knows my inner state. Antar ki bid tum hi jani. Now, the word bid refers to method, prescription, rules. However, it also signifies the Creator. So suggesting here thereby that the Creator really is the indwelling self, and giving us the first hint at our real identity, which is rooted in the indwelling self. And that is not a material or mental form, but formless, and therefore imperceptible to the senses. And that's why it is agah atulle, boundless and inestimable, cannot be measured, cannot be formed. So that's the first hint, that our identity is essentially rooted in the formless. We, however, are accustomed to forms, whether they are physical forms or whether they are thought forms. And that is where we have to start shifting our mind a bit. Now, because it is an essence and not a form, it obviously defies description. And that is what the Guru says. He says, Baranasakon, I cannot describe. What can't you describe? Tumre ranga, your play. Baranasakon, tumre ranga. Ranga has many nuanced connotations. Chief among them, that it is a stage. It also means love, it means color. But here, it's referring to the stage of world play. I cannot describe your play because it arises from the boundless and the inestimable. However, the Guru gives us a hint as to what it might be. He says, Baradna Sako Tumre Ranga Gun Nidhan Sukhadate. You are the treasure trove of virtue, the giver of happiness. Now, virtue, divine virtues, is essentially saying that because you're not a thing or an entity and not describable by words, and yet inextricably bound with our existence, how does one know it? And it is known to us through its attributes or qualities, which cannot be seen, but can be cultivated. And so Guru wisdom teaches us the art of cultivating virtue, or transcendence, if you will. So the Guru is saying, I cannot describe your play, you, treasure trove of virtue, you, the giver of happiness. You are the tree of life. That is to say, you are existence, agam. But you are imperceptible, agochar. This is the eternal wisdom. The fact that the source of our life, pran adhare, as we saw in the Rahautuk, the source of life is imperceptible to the senses. This is the wisdom that we have to carry and that we have to imbibe through the perfect Guru. Pure Gurte Jati. That is the key. To understand, to know, to comprehend that the source of our life, the support of our life, is not any form. It is formless and imperceptible to the senses. When you realize that, and you begin to realize the nature of Haume, that Haume is really mental conditioning. It's identification with mind and with form. So it's self-referential to the I, and the I is always attached to a thought, whether it is a role, a parent, a worker, or an emotion. I'm happy, I'm sad. It is always attached to and grafted to the I. And that happens through a process of social conditioning. And over time, we mistake our I, ego, to be our thoughts and emotions. And the fleeting nature of these thoughts and experiences, because they are never still and they're constantly changing, our identification with them creates a self-image that is just as illusory. And it is Guru wisdom that is the solvent that dissolves Haume consciousness and the delusion, its delusion of permanence. And that is what the Guru says in the third verse. He says, Parama pao kaat kiye neh keval jab te Haume mari. I shed my fears and my doubts evaporated. The illusion of birth and death vanished when I transcended my Haume consciousness. Janam maran ke chuke sehsa sad sangat darsari. Through the teachings of the perfected one, the Gur, the enlightener. That is the necessary solvent that is required. And so therefore, it follows that Charan pakhar karo gur seva bar jao lakh bariya. We have to submit, as Nanak says he has 1,000,000 times over, to the teachings of the perfect Gur enlightener, whose guidance enables the crossing of the sea of fear. Eh pau jal tarya, jeh prasad eh pau jal tarya, jara nanak priya sang mirya. That enabled me to identify myself with my true source. To that wisdom, to that guidance, Nanak says, submit yourself not once, but 1,000,000 times over and over again. And so he leaves us with a thought to ponder. Does dissolving the Haume mean relinquishing the world? The answer is a unqualified no. Indeed, the opposite is true. When you realize the impermanence of the world, you in fact appreciate and enjoy the little things of life even more. So you see, that is what eludes us. Because we think things are impermanent, we think we have to relinquish them. No. Enjoy them for what they are, but understand that our sojourn here on earth is a temporary one. So it's a realization. Dissolving Haume consciousness, like Haume itself, is a realization. Except now you're realizing your real identity, which is rooted in the self that is experiencing a wondrous world through the contraption of Haume. The difficulty is that Haume gets attached and misidentifies itself with things, with emotions, with places, with experiences. Whereas the self is really the enjoyer, but a witness to the experience. So we have to enjoy the experience with a certain state of detachment. And that only enhances our experience of life. It does not diminish it. On that note, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.